The Texas legislative session ended last week with a closing 1,200 bills passing the House and the Senate.
Some significant ones, but some of the most consequential legislation won't become law unless you vote for it. 17 measures on the ballot in November as amendments. Let's get to ABC 13's Tom Abrams joining us live from West University Place with more on what those amendment measures are. Hi, Tom.
Hi, Jonathan. Well, a lot of them have to do with property taxes, most notably one measure that would increase the homestead exemption from $100,000 to $140,000. After its long legislative session, lawmakers left some of the work up to you. They passed what are called joint resolutions, which then put those issues on the ballot for voter approval. There are 17 proposed constitutional amendments. That's the most since 2003. All of them require a majority vote when voters head to the polls in November to become law.
The legislature went sort of overboard this year, and part of it is that they were doing things with property tax relief that because of the way the legislative process worked, they had to split up into several different constitutional amendments.
In addition to several property tax measures, there is also an increase in the inventory tax exemption for small businesses. It's an issue we profiled 2 years ago, but lawmakers failed to pass it then. Now it's up to voters. There's also a measure that would give judges more latitude in denying bail to some criminal suspects. It was among Governor Greg Abbott's priorities and also failed to pass 2 years ago. Now a version of it is on the ballot.
The actual constitutional amendment that people will be voting on isn't the ideal one that, say, Dan Patrick and Greg Abbott wanted, but it's pretty close, and so they effectively took the win.
There are also performative measures, which don't really change the law but signal Republican priorities, including one that would prevent capital gains tax in Texas, which we don't have because there is no state income tax, and an amendment that makes it illegal for non-citizens to vote, which is already prohibited. Now, those 17 measures are just a small part of what the legislature accomplished this past session. Coming up at 6, we'll take a look at the hundreds and thousands of bills that they considered during their 140 days in Austin. Reporting live in West U, Tom Abrams, ABC 13 Eyewitness News.
And Tom, one follow-up here. You mentioned Republican priorities a couple of times. This was a fairly historic session. How would you characterize the Republican Party in Texas right now and Governor Abbott standing leading it?
Well, they're certainly dominant in the state of Texas. They lead both houses. They have strong majorities in both. And Governor Abbott, after not quite as successful a session in 2023, not getting some of those priorities across the finish line, helped reshape the House in his image and got a lot of those priorities passed this session. So in 2025, Greg Abbott, the most popular Republican in the state, has to be happy about what happened during those 140 days.